What's up, guys? We are live from the Roar Zone. This is going to be a fun show. We have two East Coast flavors, two East Coast people in the house. We got Jersey, we got New York. What's up, big man? How are you?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to have you. Before we get started, as always, we are brought to you by none other than Nutrition. Listen, at the end of the day, the question always is, what's your definition of quality of life? That's what we want to know at Nutrition. What's your definition of quality of life? You're 35, 40 years old and older, and you're feeling beat up, you're feeling sluggish, you're feeling run down, you don't recover quick enough. There's no mystery to that. What happens is nature takes its course. Nature is moving you in reverse. Your testosterone is going down, your estrogens are going up, you're going in reverse. The most intense testosterone booster hit the market in a long time. If you have any questions, reach out. That being said, let's get this show started. Got some cool stuff to kind of share and pull out those golden nuggets, but let's just start from the beginning, man. So, born and raised in Yonkers,
Yep.
right? Were you an athlete your whole life? How was your childhood?
I was
Okay.
overweight, very much, probably the last picked. You know, it wasn't really my thing.
Picked last on the team?
Yeah, I wasn't really interested in that, and kind of as I got older, spent more time indoors, and even going to school, I kind of spent more time just kind of staying out of trouble, not getting into fights. You know, it was just a lot of pressure as a kid. You know, things happen. You find a way to stress, or take care of stress. And I'm Italian, so we eat for every reason.
That's it, brother.
And that's what happened. So
Yeah.
we eat this, eat that, and then. It took me a long time before I finally got to my highest, and I was like, this has to change. And I've been wanting to my whole life, but I just didn't know how.
Yeah, and you had to figure it out. You had to find your way. But if we go back a little bit, I talk in when I do my seminars and keynotes, and my message really is, you see my book, it's Knock Out Fear in the First Round, and I talk about fear barriers as the ultimate bully in life, right? And I say, I want to teach you how to get your lunch money back from that bully.
Yeah.
But that being said, you're sharing your story, about growing up on the East Coast in New York, and I always tell people, I don't know many people that can honestly say they haven't been bullied. There's always going to be there's going to be a bigger guy or bigger crew in your neighborhood somewhere around that you're going to get bullied somewhere along the way, right? So when you understand that, now you're not the minority, you are the majority. So now it's more of an obligation to say, all right, how do I put that past me? How do I learn? And how do I move forward instead of using that as your anchor,
Yeah.
Because you just touched on something that I think most of us, if we're honest, experienced.
Yes, absolutely.
We experienced it.
It becomes your motivation at some point, but it's really what keeps you from moving forward. You're just like, maybe it's true.
Right.
You start to believe.
Yeah.
You're just like, because you can't see the world any other way, and
Right.
and so it becomes comfortably uncomfortable.
Yes.
And
you start accepting it.
All right.
Yeah.
It happens too much in many different ways. Like you said, it happens. Like you said, even in the workplace, schoolyard, and just on the block.
It's just life, man.
On the internet.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You can't get away from it, right? But you can learn to deal with it, and then you can learn to learn from it, and either get better or let it hold you back. I always say it's either your heaviest anchor or your strongest propeller, right?
Yes.
You have to decide that. So growing up, you were overweight, right? And I get that, right? Food was always, it's everything, right? Every function, every event, everything is based around food.
Portion size. I always tell people, say, how much is a bowl of macaroni? You go, the serving's like a quarter cup, but ours was as much as fits in a bowl without falling out.
Isn't it the truth?
It's like 2 cups, so it's basically like 4 or 5 servings. Yeah.
It's so true. That is so true. I remember the first time I realized, right, that where I grew up and how I grew up, our servings and our food was different than even some people. I was in my early 20s and renting a room for my buddy's mom, and we were sitting. It was a weeknight. We were going to watch a movie or something after dinner, and they're like, "Hey, you want to have a snack? You want?" Yeah. So they bring out like a air popcorn, like a bowl of popcorn. I'm thinking, what? Our snacks were, we get a pizza and then a cheesesteak.
Yeah.
Right? That was our snacks to watch
Or
TV.
rack of cookies,
something.
Gallon ice cream,
Yes, something like that. So Yeah, it's interesting, man, when you grow up that way and it becomes so much a part of your world.
Yes.
It's interesting because for me, and I think you'll probably relate to this, right? I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't gamble. I tell people I'm as boring as you can get, but my Achilles heel is food. I'll take, like, if you put a beer in front of me
Yeah.
and a cheeseburger,
Yeah.
it's not even close.
Right.
It's not even close. You can take the beer all day long. I'll eat the cheeseburger. That's just how it was. Now, did you play any sports when you were growing up, or?
Well, I did play baseball.
Okay.
But I did the non-athletic one. So I hit and I was catcher, which was
Okay.
actually a cool position because you get to be involved in every play rather than swatting flies in the outfield.
Right.
And I had a lot of aggression, so I was really good at swinging them back.
Okay.
So,
Well,
yeah.
and you know what? We talk about this, and I know what you meant by it, like non-athletic.
Yeah.
But man, if you're a catcher and
Yeah.
you have serious pitchers on your team, man, that's a badass position to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a rough position, man.
Yeah, it was they didn't force me to be as accountable at catcher as possible. It was probably between 12 and 15, and it was just like a rec league that we did in the neighborhood. But like, if a ball passed me, it was no big deal. You know, but because I'm a lefty, actually, I was real good at getting people out at home because I was able to sit there in line. I was able to just swat them across. Yeah, so I'd have my right hand. So it was good, and plus I was big, so people couldn't get through me.
Yeah.
That was
So
the fun part.
that's good. So you said you had a lot of aggression. Where'd that come from?
I mean, it comes from everywhere. I
Okay.
mean, it starts, I'm not going to point fingers at people, but, just start off a little disappointed with life, just the way we grew up,
Yeah, you were hoping that it'd be a little
three
different,
kids,
right?
Single parents,
Yep.
family,
Yep.
Great family. My family helped me so much. I mean, I wouldn't be anywhere without them. And then you start going to school, and all of a sudden people just don't like you for some reason, and you're wondering why, and then you just feel like you can't get out of that, and you can't tell somebody because then you're gonna get it,
Right. Right.
and then there's really no one to tell.
Right.
I mean, so like, who was I going to tell? My grandfather. I mean, he was
Right.
going to go. My grandfather was going to punch him in the face. I'm like, yeah, it's easy, grandpa. My
Right.
grandfather was born in 1919.
Right.
It's different, So
different world.
yeah, different world. So it was
Yeah, it was a
got to me.
struggle, right?
It got to me. Yeah,
It was a struggle.
Just
Yeah.
more than I realized it.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then as the oldest of the three, the single
The
family
siblings,
three,
yeah.
I was always told, you're the man of the house. So I took that on my shoulder a lot too when I didn't have to, and I took a lot of responsibility that really made me feel I had to do more than I was supposed to, and so I was so responsible for things that I wasn't responsible for.
Yeah, and then you took that pressure on, and then a lot of times what happens, right, especially when you're young, is you're taking all that pressure on, you really have no business being in that position, and then you feel inadequate because things aren't going the way an adult would handle it, and how could it, right? You're a kid. So, and you want to know something? That's why I go from the beginning with people on this show, because your struggle, right, is you're going to show the strength that you gained. But what happens is there's going to be a lot of people that are going to connect with that story, either parents with their kids watching it themselves. And I always say, you were bad enough to make it through, now it's your obligation to share it.
Yeah.
And that's at the end of the day, that's it, man. And your struggles, you wouldn't be who you are.
Absolutely.
Without figuring out how to conquer those.
Absolutely. And that's what helped me, was other people's struggles, learning from what they knew that I didn't.
Love it.
And
Love it.
I always found myself in a mentorship position. So by helping or giving advice to others, it reflected back to me. So I really enjoyed.
It's kind of like your own therapy, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
It is still, actually.
Yeah.
When I work with people now physically, I mean, when I release them of something, I'm releasing myself of something.
Yeah, love it.
And so I learned more as I got older, and the more, as my journey went on, we'll probably get more questions, I guess, but I'm going to give away all of it, that there's a lot of peace I didn't have, and a lot of things I held on to for a very long time. And over the past couple of years, since moving actually to San Diego, I was able to face them. And we don't face them enough.
And we're gonna talk about that. But what I'm dying to know is, where did Where did the aha moment, if there was an aha moment, where did that shift happen at 19? Because you said, you were heavy, right? A little overweight, and then 19, something happened.
Right. So 19, I actually have a picture. I still have this picture.
Okay.
I went to the prom with somebody. So I got a picture back, and I'm like, man, I am big. I'm like, I can't believe I'm that heavy. And I had actually lost some weight before that, I think, because I was drinking a lot of Dr. Pepper and stuff, and not to necessarily plug them, right? But and I switched to diet. I dropped 10 pounds. So I think it was 10 pounds heavier than that before. And I was like, man, I can't go anymore. I'm like, I got it. This has to stop. And so my stepdad he was big. He was like just big dude, big like you.
But how much did you weigh? Because you're about 6'1"?
About 6.
Yeah, 6 foot.
I was 232, and I had never really done any sort of exercise other than what I was forced to do.
So there was no it was
it was all
soft.
Soft. Yeah. And basically I said, okay, I want to look. I went spring break, and I felt like a slug, and I'm like, came to him, I go, listen, he's always in shape, always just this beast of a man, and even the stories about him. But anyhow, he goes, you got to lose weight. I go, tell me how to do it. So he took me to the basement. He had all his weights, he had everything. Yeah, he had his bench, he had his dumbbells.
Now, who was this?
It's my stepdad.
Okay.
Who's,
okay.
Basically,
it's awesome.
He came into my life when I was 10. So,
he raised you.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And so he gave me a training program. And he goes, here's your book. Follow this every day. He's like, and then he goes, get rid of all these extra carbs and just eat so many calories a day and just stick to that. I said, okay. And you know what? And we were talking about the scale before.
Yeah.
I weighed myself that day, and I said, I am not going to weigh myself until I look in the mirror and go, you lost weight. And it was 4 months later that I actually, first time I stepped to the scale.
What made you say that? Where do you think that came from? Because that's so polar opposite, as you know, what most people conceive, right?
Because I realized that all the times that I gave up was when I stood on the scale and it didn't tell me what I wanted it to say.
Love that. I love that. Okay.
So I realized it's like that one, because to me, at that point, it didn't matter what the scale said. It mattered how I looked. I went for I had a picture of what I wanted to look like, not what a number on a scale was. So I wanted to become someone else and change that about myself. Mm-hmm. And the first 4 months, I dropped 40 pounds, and I'm like, oh wow! I'm like, I can't stop now,
right.
And 18 years later, I haven't stopped. So it finished on the next couple months. I got all the way down to about 170.
Okay.
From there. Wow. That's when I kind of stopped losing weight. I think at that point, I wasn't really going to go anymore. I had some loose skin to fill in, so actually I was looking to gain on some more muscle at that point.
Right.
But but it was the 3 lessons I tell people I learned is when, you know what? I said, if this happens again, if I ever gain weight, I said, I know how to lose it.
Right.
2.
So the fear is gone.
Yeah. And 2, I said, all the things that I thought were supposed to help me, all the things that they put out there, they go, oh, diet this or this and that. They were truth.
Right.
I learned the truth about what really takes to get, it's the mindset of accepting a challenge and following it through and not letting yourself deviate from that path. It's just any rule of success. But I learned my first real success at that point. And the third thing I learned is that I can teach it to people.
Love it.
And that's what I wanted to do. And at 19, I'm in college, and I'm like, Mom, my personal trainer's like, you're going to college.
Right?
So you're in college and we're paying for it.
So then what'd you do?
Well, I continued going to college. College got a little rough because I got real cocky when I was 19. I love to drive, and I really felt so invigorated and so within myself. And
when you were driving?
Yeah, me and my friends, even before that, because I was slow my whole life, but the car was fast.
Oh,
see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
And I was good at it.
So you had the power.
So I was good at it. So I was finally good at something. So I kind of obsessed over it. And then as I got cockier, I actually was like in the process. I actually built. A couple people helped. I built a little compact car. Yeah, wasn't finished because by the time I got the motor in 4 days later, I wrapped it around a little something else, and it was going really fast. And fractured my hip in 4 places. And talk about another aha moment, when I woke up and realized I could be dead. Because, funny thing, I used to fear death, dying. Like, it was weird. I used to fear it as a kid.
So you were obsessed over that? Like, you always thinking about death?
I was so tense. I was like, things about bad things happening to me. I just couldn't understand why, because I guess I was used to bad things happening in my mind, and I just lost my mind. I just felt so invincible that I was just. And the car was so fast. I had no idea how it got that fast on the road. It did that fast, and it was a little Honda CRX, and it just it hit 125 by the fifth gear.
You are lucky, man.
And I got T-boned, and somebody's with me. He actually hit his nose in the dashboard. He's fine, but I, got fractured. I just remember like that, and then I woke up in a hospital. And for a weekend I was on morphine and all sorts of pain meds through that, and came home and wallowed my own self-pity and felt like I had lost everything I just worked for.
Yeah.
And that's where the rest of that next part of the story started. With the pain medications and stuff.
Oh, okay. So you started to feel addicted?
Yeah. It was at that point I was just like, this makes me feel better right now. My ego was so bruised, and I was like, you know what, right now, just let this just go away. And
just let me numb.
Yeah. Because it was really ego crushing to finally realize your dream as a kid, right? Get there, and then you get the fast car, and you're like always competing. You're at the height of your testosterone. You're like 19, 20, and then it's just gone like that. But even though I was doing this, I just knew that my life before then died. That way I thought before. I'm like, I'm still here to do work, and I didn't fear death anymore. I kind of also raced because I feared death, and I'm looking fear in the face, And so I was like, when I'm at the limit, I'm like, haha, like laughing at you. You can't catch me.
You won, yeah.
And I realized I'm still here, and man, did that story evolve. But it creeps up on you, because then all of a sudden you realize, and I'm not, getting loaded every day on Viking or something, but like taking some here, taking some there.
Oh, yeah.
Keep him just trying to maintain my head. So I wanted my head to be where I needed it to be at that time. So I could be like perfect. So I could do everything right. And
really a functioning prescription drug.
Yeah, it led to a bunch of other things. Then it just got crazier and crazier. I did write a book about it. It's just an ebook. And
what's it called?
It's called "The Strongest People Come from the Weakest Times."
Beautiful. Where can they find that?
It's on Amazon Kindle.
Okay.
Yeah,
so when we jump off, you can jump back on and post all your stuff.
Yeah. So basically, it describes where I came from and how, for me, it was helping me get rid of that story out of my life. Because even if I didn't have that in my life, now I've been almost 11 years clean and sober.
How did you break that? How did you get past that?
Almost dying.
Okay, so you almost died again.
Yeah, you get to that place of hopelessness again, and you say to yourself, just end this.
Right.
End this
Why am
somehow,
I here?
right?
Yeah.
But then there's a voice that's deep inside you that goes, you're supposed to keep going, and you got to trust that voice. And the more you cloud yourself, because if you're medicating or you're whatever you're doing,
you're masking.
Yeah, you're masking. You're not getting rid of this stuff.
You're masking.
Yeah, and it builds. Now you're backed up. So now it's like, hey, it's like taking one guy, putting him into the file cabinet of 1,000 different files and telling him to go clean up now. There's a lot of gunk in there. It's going to take them a long time, and so you got to fight through that. But I had some friends who, one in particular, who he had stopped about a year before me, just drinking and everything, and I just said to him, I said, what I gotta do is, you gotta stop drinking. I'm like, yeah, what else? He said, you gotta stop everything. I'm like, everything? He's like, yeah, man. And I'm like,
so was this a AA or?
It was a good friend, yeah. So AA, yeah. And it actually helped really address everything for me, because the idea was the obsession. When you learn is that the obsession is what leads you to the road of whatever the outlet is. And for me, it was like, I'm an all in or all out type of guy. So
I hear that.
So for me it was like, I just gotta cut it and go. And I said I would go these dude, I went like 7 o'clock in the morning, and it was like 7 o'clock in the morning. I went to bed at 7, and I would just sit and I would listen, and I would just sit there like for weeks, and then just all of a sudden it just starts to make more sense, and you start hearing people tell your story. Yeah. And then you meet somebody who tells your story and says, I know exactly where you're coming from. And you realize that you're not so different from everybody else.
Now, in this time that you were in with the prescription drugs, were you working out?
Oh, I was always working out because I was very much worried about my going backwards too. So I call it fat kid syndrome. You know, after you lose a lot of weight, you're like, I'll do anything not to get fat again.
Right.
And so
you don't want that feeling.
No, you're not, and you're going out and going out. So now you're also taking drugs that are not going to conflict with your physique, right?
Exactly.
So you're like, well, if I take something that's an upper, it'll burn.
You'll
it'll
lean out, muscle,
and then I have to
energy,
drink tonight
focus.
or something. Yeah, so we go clubbing, we take this, and
You're
basically
justifying.
Yeah, exactly. So you're basically everything out, and it beats you up. But I've seen some people that haven't got out of it, and some of them, they're no longer with us, and I've been told I'm the lucky one of the lucky ones. Yeah. And so for me, working with people, it's the struggle with that kept me here to the work that I do now. Mm-hmm. But I was always meant to help people in the way that I help them now. And if I can help somebody spiritually, mentally, when they're stuck in a thought process that is not necessarily addictive, but obsessive, because a lot of people who get pain, they're obsessive about it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, oh, my life, I'm stuck, why me, or they just get into a really bad place where they feel their life isn't changeable. You know, and I was doing training for about 15 years before I exclusively do the work that I do now, and I'll tell you, everybody's got the same thing. They're like, what's stopping you from getting forward? And it's like, and what's your goal? Because you could walk in the room and say, I can't go, oh, you need to lose this, you need to cut that up. It's like, what do you want most?
Yeah, and that's a great point. You know, why when I have my sports nutrition store, people will come in all the time and say, hey, what's the best thing I should take? I have no idea. Let's figure out what you want, where you want to go. Correct. What are your goals? One of the things you mentioned earlier, and I'm a big proponent on this, is you were talking about habits, right? And regimens. And I call them non-negotiables. And I always say, if you don't have non-negotiables in your life, you're like a buoy in the ocean. You're just letting the ocean take you wherever it wants. You're letting life, take you. So when you wake up and you have no non-negotiables, the day is going to unfold the way life wants it to unfold, not how you want it to unfold. And you kind of give up that driver's seat, So I'm a big proponent on non-negotiables, and obviously so are you. Because it's structure. It's you have something there, to work with throughout your day. One other thing I want to touch on too that I really want to go deeper with is you were mentioning, like, okay, I don't want to go back to that. I don't want to be that fat kid. This is what I need to do, right? And you mentioned it without saying this word, but I know what you meant. It's all about lifestyle, right? That 4-letter word diet is so short term. If you can't change your lifestyle around, it's only going to be short term. And I use these as an example, right? I tell people all the time, if anybody tells you that they have the end all in a bottle, run. Don't look back. These are not the end all. They, if at all, they just complete the circle. They're called supplements for a reason. They supplement your lifestyle. So the cleaner your lifestyle, the better they're going to work. If you're not putting the time and the effort in, well, don't expect a lot out of that bottle either. So I love that you went there and talked about that, because that 4-letter word diet, I mean, it's a recipe for failure.
Well, and the funny thing is about, if you look up diet, all the word diet means is what you eat. It doesn't mean low fat, low carb, keto, any of that stuff, paleo. It just means what you eat. So again, like what I said, all the terms that we're throwing us, all these marketing terms that people jump on. Oh, this is a new trend. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It doesn't matter what you do. You just got to keep doing it. And you got to accept it. And some things are just not right for some people. Sometimes their minds, look, if your mind's not in the right place to start,
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. So,
that's funny. I talk about, everything mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically is all an inside job. So it starts with the mind. And talk about these hormones, right? As we age, it's an inside job. You got to start to turn those around, so now you can start to win. If not, it's like paddling upstream. paddling upstream.
Yeah, and that's
so
a great
life's an
metaphor.
inside job.
Yeah, life should be downstream, you know. And,
Right.
And you know, one of the things I see, I work with people more, a lot of people with anybody with injuries, they can really get help with. More people in the 40s, 50s, 60s, where they're starting to see themselves go backwards.
Yes.
And part of going backwards is not just a matter of aging; it's a matter of lifestyle, but it's also a matter of living, because the body starts to adjust into what it's been doing all the time. Maybe it's just sitting a lot. So it's no longer utilizing the right programming to keep you vital.
Yep.
And so everything in your body integrates. Hormones, your breathing, your heart rate, your muscles, lymphatic system, all those things. So if your entire structure is off, all those other things are off too. So when you talk about, I got older, I got atrophy, well, part of it is not just because you got older, it's because your body's been shut off for
you
a
don't
really long
use it,
time.
you lose it.
Yeah.
Right? It's that I use this example all the time. 2005, I went to the Arnold Classic in Ohio, and Arnold's given a lifetime achievement award to Jack LaLanne. Now at that time, right, he was 92 years old.
Yeah.
This guy was running around, made us all look like we're standing still.
Yes.
I shake his hand, he shakes my hand. But here's the thing, he was in phenomenal shape.
Yeah.
But here's what I got. My takeaway that weekend when I met Jack LaLanne at 92 years old was this. When we spoke, and we didn't speak long, it was quick, right? I said, hey, Jack, man, glad to meet you. Blah, blah. And he's just like, yeah, blah, blah. He was so alert.
Yes.
He was so alert.
Yeah.
His eyes were clear. Like 92 years old.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's all one unit.
Yeah.
And that's what I think people forget. Like they separate it.
Or
right?
they just don't even know. You know,
Or they
were
don't
taught
even
it.
know. You're
They were
right.
just-
You're
they weren't
right.
taught it. They were taught.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, one of the things I got into, just not to get off too much off the topic, but last year a friend got me into intermittent fasting. And after I started only eating over an 8-hour period a day, I'll eat all my calories, but like, oh my God, it feels so normal.
Right.
So I'm like, maybe we're not supposed to eat all day long.
Right.
You know, like maybe they just came up with this because it made sense and it makes other people happy when you buy their food. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or
Or a combination. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of the world I think is changing, and the awareness and the consciousness is changing, and people are really understanding how powerful they really are.
Yeah.
And shows like what you're doing. That's why when I saw your show, I was really excited to come out, because it's not necessarily that I'm on it. It's that people are on it with you, helping them become more conscious and more understanding that. You saw what I just did with the guy outside.
Yeah.
Everything is in your body to do what it has to do. This brain never forgets what it's supposed to do. So it just can't get the message there. And we just take it for granted so much that the greatest supercomputer on earth is the brain.
By far.
And it runs through our body. And if the body's not working right, it's not getting what it needs.
It's a machine.
Yeah, it's a finely tuned machine.
It's a machine. The other thing I'd love to say is, your body is your vehicle to get you through this lifetime. The better you take care of it, the smoother the ride.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
That's just the real. So now we went through that struggle. We brought him out of that dip, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got off the prescription meds, and now you're you're starting to live your life again, full on. Let everyone know, how did you get out here from New York? 'Cause you just came out in 2014.
Yeah. So I had been in, had been training more and more as a full-time job, and had opened a studio, and took a course back in 2007. I had met a fellow who people might know in the fitness industry from Jersey. His name's Todd Durkin. You might have met him before. Yeah. So he was
big name out here.
Yeah. So he was teaching.
I didn't even know he's from Jersey.
He's from Jersey.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Brick, New Jersey.
Yeah. Okay.
And so so basically, he was teaching for ACE at the time. He was teaching their functional training course, and he just comes in. He goes, "Hey, I'm Todd Durkin. What's up? What's going on? From Jersey." He goes, "I'm just going to teach you everything I know."
A little hyper.
Yeah, and he's like, it's like we're on Wall Street, like New York Sports Club, and I'm sitting there in the bathroom, and this goes, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like, "Dude, it's like 8:00 in the morning." And then he gets in there, and he's like, "I'm just going to tell you everything I know." And he starts in with the, "Hey, I'm working with Drew Brees, I'm working with Danny Tomlinson." If you know who he is, if you saw on his induction ceremony to the Hall of Fame, Todd Durkin. He tells us something like, "Wow," but what he made me see was outside the box. Because the way I saw fitness was not inside the box where I was working, right? It was outside to the world where I always wanted to reach.
Right.
And I was like, this man can do it, I can do it. Okay. And I told him that day, and I've been following him ever since. And I came out and visited the next year, And I fell in love with San Diego, but I'm a New Yorker, deep rooted, and I was like, I'm an Italian New Yorker, so you're not leaving. And my mother, I'm never going to see you.
You can't get out.
You know, so, and she's been here 6 times already, by the way. And you know, we started having some kids, you know, and my third one was coming along, and we really, you know, the work that I do hands-on, I wanted to teach at a larger scale. And I think this is the headquarters of fitness to me. And
it really is.
Yeah, and I was like, I had this dream since like 2010, when I came out here for the first time with my wife and introduced her to the place, that I was missing my plane to the airport, or my ride to the airport, where I plane to San Diego. It would happen like once a week probably. And then finally I was like, would you go? And my wife's like, sure. I mean, I think we should be out there. And since she had moved to this country from Germany, she had already kind of did her uprooting. So for her, and for us, I was like, you know what, this is a chance for us to really go at it together and make this adventure together and pick a place that we really want to raise our kids. And, you know, we just, basically San Diego or bust, you know. I ended up driving out here twice. But, you know, we came out here and we just found a place to live, and we've been there ever since. But everything in my life since I followed that was just, it's just been a dream.
Yeah, and same with me. I came out in 2005 on a vacation, fell in love with it by end of 2007, sold my business, went through a divorce, everything, and by summer 2008 was out here full time. And it's the greatest thing I did, and it's the best thing I did, because I just, same thing, I fell in love with it. I'd come out and be like, man, this is, you know, a kid from Jersey, man, this is paradise, man.
Yeah, I found peace.
Yeah.
And, you know, growing up where we grew up, it never stops. It never stops. And, you know, to being the type of person I was, all this stress that just kept eating me up. I was doing what I loved, but I just always felt so overwhelmed, so inundated. And I'm like, I want to do something, like what I wanted to teach people is like, I wanted to teach it there. And I'm like, you know what? Like, it's not going to happen here. It's going to happen there.
And you get to and not everyone, but some people get to a point where you're at stops feeding you. Right? So you can either address it, acknowledge it, find the courage to move forward, right? In the darkness, or stay in that safety and stop growing, right? And I believe, me personally, I'm not a doctor, not even close, never even graduated high school, but here's what I believe, being on this earth long enough. A large percentage of what people consider depression is they simply are afraid to get out of their comfort zone. They're afraid to get into the darkness, and they're afraid to step into that unknown. And I always believe that darkness is only temporary as long as you keep moving forward. The only time it becomes permanent is when you go back into safety. When you go back into safety, you stop growing. We're here to grow, evolve, and move forward.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And most people, what I like to express to people is that it's a choice to stay there.
Yes.
It's a choice, and people are just like, I'm stuck here. No, you're staying there. You just don't realize.
And it's and the location, right, is no different than even a relationship, right? How many times? And here's how I can prove this, right? Next time you go into a restaurant that's a busy restaurant, I want you to look around and look at the couples and count how many couples are not even, let alone talking to each other, not even looking at each other. Even if there wasn't a phone, not even acknowledging, but they're in this relationship because they're afraid of what could be, or afraid, and it's craziness because this ride is over like that. Why would you ever, and I'm a firm believer that if it doesn't last forever, it doesn't have to be a failure. You know? So I just had to go there.
No, that's great. No, it's great. I mean, and as I started to learn, you know, well, failure leads to success. You know, I don't even now look at failure as failure. You know, I just look at it as what I don't want.
What'd you learn? Right.
You know, it's like what I don't want. So, like, when I first moved here, I'm really good at directions. Right. And if anybody saw my post yesterday, I beat Waze by like 20 minutes. Right. Anyhow, I'm really good at directions, always was. Right. But when I moved to San Diego, I didn't know where anything was. Yeah. And I would turn down the wrong street, I'm like, oh! And I'm like, you haven't been here before. Right. You can't get mad at yourself. Well, now I don't turn on the wrong street anymore. Exactly. So I could get mad or upset, or I could get mad at, like the story I told you before about somebody putting a false Craigslist ad about a grill, right? And be mad at that. But instead, I said, you know what? That's just validation that I have to do something else, or I have to, take this and just store it. It's just information that life has brought to me for my better. And a lot of times we take it and we go, oh, this stuff happens to me. No, you're getting the information you're asking for.
Look for the gifts instead of all the problems.
Correct.
And it's again, it's all about life is perception. So share with everyone what's going on now, man. What are you doing with yourself, and what are you offering, and what do you do?
Okay, well, right now, basically what I do is I recalibrate bodies. I use a technique, principles from a few different techniques. I'm certified in something known as resistance stretching, and I utilize it to help people recalibrate their bodies. Okay. So basically, every muscle has a calibration, and when one changes, they all change, so we stay even. Homeostasis. Okay. It's got to constantly balance. But over time, you get more in place. So if I could stretch a muscle while it's under resistance, which we all can, I can change the length of that muscle. So I'm attached to the nervous system. And as I do it pair and segment by segment, I can actually reverse people's bodies, unwind them. Wow. So talk about the hands of time, we can restore connections. And like I said about the brain always knowing, the second you put that connection on, it goes, it picks up. I mean, classically, traditionally, everybody, we've done great work, with all sorts of therapies and approaches, take the muscle that's weak and make it stronger, right? Yeah. Make it stronger. Well, what if we change the muscles that are making it weak and let it get stronger on its own? And that's kind of what I do. So if there's a lot of big problems, I help people move forward, like when they're in that place of I'm stuck, I can't get out. I just want to live my life.
So how do you get your business?
It started off kind of tough. I started actually at a gym when I first moved here for a couple of months and realized this is not why I'm here. But I had made had a client, he's a great guy. I believe I talked about in my book too. His name's Dan, and he had Parkinson's disease. And his wife said, let me can you see if this help him? And it started helping this man, who had Parkinson's for a year and a half. At that point, it was very aggressive. I kind of think he had some form of ALS, but it was so aggressive. I mean, he had all sorts of complications.
You could just see it deteriorating.
Yeah. But it was helping him get better. His voice started to deepen. He started feeling better. And he was a Navy guy. He worked out. He would talk about guys working out wrong in the gym. And he goes, people used to ask me if I'm doing triceps this way. I used to work out with these guys at Venice Beach. And he goes, if Lou Ferrigno teaches you to do it that way, that's the way you do it. And he was sharp. And he loved his exercise. And I'm watching a man whose body's giving up still respond to this work. And I worked with him even when he was dying at home. And his body still responded. And at that point I said, I can help people in a great way more than I ever realized. So I just started meeting people, making friends, saying, hey, I can help people who are really stuck.
Oh, wow.
I stayed in Mission Bay with a sign. Okay. I'm not kidding. New York way, I can help you.
I was going to say, that's East Coast hustle, man.
I mean, just until people started to know. And, it's... you got to put in the work. Whatever you want to do, you've got to put in the work. And, for me, I didn't know anybody. I came from a place where I knew everybody. Yep. And here I knew 2 people. And, you got to make it on your own. And they say you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
That's it.
But I, I just made sure I got the right message, that I got it clear enough to people. And, I had some good people give out referrals. Most of my business is through referral. I've been recently getting some Yelp and Facebook stuff. But mostly referral. Mostly I help somebody and they go, I know somebody who needs your help.
So you have your own studio?
I work out of 2 studios. Okay, so I share an acupuncture office down in Mission Valley, which has been for 2 years. I've been there the longest. And I also work with a company called Dream Wellness. They're in Del Mar. Okay. And they're both chiropractors. They practice wellness through spinal wellness, upkeep, lifestyle, things like that, and they do scans and stuff. So they could actually pinpoint when they do a scan. It says, "Oh, you have tension in these muscles, tension in these muscles," and so they'll refer to me if somebody has a muscular issue, and we kind of round that out. But I've just mostly really, I made a lot of friends.
Yeah,
a lot of good people.
Yeah, you networked, you connected, and you were just who you were.
I'm here to help people, and you know what? If people don't know what I do, I can't help anybody.
Yeah.
And that's my old goal, is to walk out this door and help somebody. Even the guy in the hallway, I'll help people. Yeah. That's what I'm here to do. And that inner voice inside of you that tells you you're supposed to do something, and you're like, yeah, but it doesn't make sense, or yeah, it can't be, or how do I live this? My parents told me I should do this, or everybody else is telling me I should do this. That doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Doesn't mean anything, and you forget.
It's your
voice
journey.
says. Yeah, and that's my journey my whole life, and that kind of started not being who I really was. Kind of what started me, being introspective and stuff.
Yeah, because you start to question everything, right?
Yeah.
And then you lose perspective, you lose direction. You just,
Absolutely.
again, the best way I can think about it is a buoy in the ocean, right? You're
Yeah.
just floating, man. And so many people are doing that.
Me, I was floating at some point, but I used to run really fast everywhere as I could. So
Yeah.
it's like, maybe if I did this, maybe if I did
Yeah.
that, maybe. So I started building momentum here, and I'd shoot off to something else, or just that. Or then I got this thing where I wanted to do everything well, because I learned how to be successful at stuff. So now I'm like, well, I wasn't good at this, so I'm not going to be good at this. I wasn't good at this, now I'm going to be good at this, and so forth and so forth and so forth. And then it was like, when I had somebody coach me, I was in Todd's mastermind for a couple of years. That's kind of also what helped me get out here too, is because I'd known Todd and fitness class people. One of the coaches I was with, Frank Puka, Jersey boy, if he's watching, he said, you got to pick something. He goes, Neil, what are you good at? I said, everything. He goes, well, that's part of your problem.
Right.
And he's right. And so I decided that what I love the most, and it's the work that I do now. Because as I'm helping people see the truth in themselves with changing their life through weight loss, I stumbled upon this work that I do. I had been working, correcting, and helping people because it's part of fitness, but I stumbled upon the techniques that I do in 2010 and realized I really enjoy that so much more. And I'm going to add this because I spent a lot of my life helping my grandmother. My grandfather passed away when I was about 10, kind of my first father. And, I was the oldest, so she always wanted a whole lot of me. I was pretty big as a 10-year-old, I was like 5 feet already. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother. I trained her in the wheelchair and stuff and XYZ, and it was, really one of my best friends in the whole world. Yeah. And when I was doing this Parkinson's work, I'm working with people who were like my grandmother, who had basically just deteriorated from not doing anything.
Yeah.
Like for 17 years, she just did less, and she was totally
Atrophy.
healthy. Like they said, where are her pills? And we go here, and there's not her vitamins. She's like, no, that's what she takes. She took no pills. And I want to say today would be her birthday.
Wow. Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so
Wow.
it's real cool
Yeah.
that I was able to bring that up and share that. But she was my best friend growing up, and she helped me become wiser. She would just listen and tell me if I was being, she wouldn't say stupid, but she would be like,
No.
hey, in the Brooklyn, she from Benson, hey, what do you, cut that out.
Yeah.
Something like that,
Yeah.
But, just the people need help, and people are here to help them. And you're here to help people, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm here to help people, and that's what I'm doing. And the ones that need my help will come to me, and the ones that don't, they won't. And I had to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because you want to save the world, but you can't.
No.
So you just save the people that you're here to save.
That's it. And like you said, listening to that inner voice. And I always say, your inner GPS will never steer you wrong if you have the courage to follow it.
Correct.
And you also mentioned something pretty important, that people that truly want to help, they take that burden on thinking they need to help save the whole world. It's not your job, right?
Right.
And I always say this, and I was taught this myself too, is as you work on yourself, right, you're going to raise your vibration.
Correct.
Now, the people that were here with you, they're either going to rise up with you or they're going to fall away.
Yep.
Either way, it's not your job. And once I was told that, now it takes all the guilt away, right, and lets you keep rising if you choose to. And I'm a big believer, right, that life makes the rules. And what's going to happen when we jump off, you're going to be able to post all your information, all your links, and reconnect with everyone that jumped on,
Awesome.
right?
Yeah.
But I'm a big believer, Neil, that life makes the rules, right? And we don't make the rules, you don't make the rules, life makes the rules. And life always asks questions. And right now, life is asking you a question.
Yeah.
And life says, Neil, if you could live your life purring like a kitten or roaring like a lion, what would you do?
I'd roar like a lion.
I know that.
Without doubt.
And life is always
Yeah.
asking you another question. If you could be in this unstoppable state the majority of your day, how would that feel?
That'd be perfect.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
That'd be
So we're going to take this out Monster Motivator style. We're going to do the Monster Motivator roar. On three. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Ah! Oh man, awesome job, brother. Awesome.